everyone. I'm calling this meeting of June what's the date? 10th. The Sewer Authority Midcoast to order. May we have roll call, please?
Director Harvey. I'm sorry. Director Rarbach. Yeah, every time, sorry.
It's all right.
They all
here.
Director Lohman.
Still here.
Director Dye.
Here.
Chair Penrose.
Here.
Director Slater Carter. Present. And Director Blanchard.
Here.
Okay, we will open the floor for public comment, and I have 3 speakers. Keishan.
Chairperson, Board of Directors, it is important that we acknowledge the wonderful help, encouragement, and support that we have received from Beverly over the past 3.5 years. We would like to show our profound gratitude for the experience that we have gained from you, Beverly. You have been an exemplary boss and manager. It is very unusual to find a manager like you, Beverly, who has always had the employees' best interests in mind. And this gathering of the employees shows how much you have earned respect. You have never ever lost your cool with your employees and always protected the best interests of the employees. Let me tell you one thing, Beverly. Usually bosses give orders, but you gave us direction. Others gave us targets, and you gave us vision. Other bosses led by authority, but you always led by respect. It does not matter whether we get the opportunity to work with Mark Zuckerberg or Tim Cook or Jeff Bezos, because we've already worked with a luminary like you. You may have been a boss just for a few years, but your inspiration and motivational words of advice will always push us to do our best. We know, Beverly, that you will achieve great heights in your new job. And as your friends at SAM, we want to thank you for all that you have done, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
I'm lying, I'm not leaving. Sorry, I just wanted to hear that.
Next up is Dan Child.
Directors, I just want to take a minute to thank you and Beverly for the opportunity I had the meeting with you last week to discuss the potential of working with you. I think most of you have heard that for various reasons that's probably not going to work out right now, at least, and I feel bad about that. I see this organization as having a lot of positives, and the opportunity to move forward would have been a lot of fun, and I feel bad that we lost that opportunity, at least for the time being, and I hope if something comes about in the future that I may be able to help you out in any way, and if in the short term, if staff needs anything, I want to offer my services and my help to them, and a phone call, or I'm just down the road staying at this point. As I told you, I've got friends here in El Granado that let me stay at their home when I'm in the area, so if I can be of any assistance during the transition, please do not hesitate to call on me, and I'll be glad to help out. But I just wanted to tell you thank you very much for your time and consideration, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Carlos Mendez.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Carlos Mendez. I'm an employee here at SAM. Been employed here for about a little bit over 6 years now. And during that time, I can't say that I've had more pleasurable time than the time that Beverly's been here, as far as working for any manager that's been here in SAM during my tenure. She has always maintained an open door policy in which any one of us can go ahead and talk to her about anything, really. You know, Keishan said earlier. She went ahead and not necessarily gave us orders, but passionately directed us with all the encouragement that we needed to in order to be able to create a safe environment here on the coast side for the entire community. And it was her passion that was instilled into us to go ahead and try to be better for everybody. On a personal level, I want to say that she is one of two of the best people I've ever had the pleasure of working under, and the other person ended up becoming my best man at my wedding, and eventually one of my godfathers. So in essence, he became family, and I'm speaking for my wife when I go ahead and say that Beverly and her family has become an extension of our family as well. And I just want to say thank you and good luck on your next endeavors.
And Tim Costello.
Me?
You.
You want to say something?
He's off leash, watch out.
This is, yeah, this is hard. We've worked together for 3.5 years. I'm trying to keep it together. And really it's been, my voice is all over because it really upsetting.
Take a deep breath.
I have stuff written down, I can hardly read it.
Do you want me to
Because-
speak? Do you want me to speak?
No, I will get it.
There you go.
Your staff admires and respects you. And if I knew nothing more of you, that would be enough. Thought you'd like that. You've helped me to work outside of my comfort zone, and I really appreciate that. And helped me grow as an individual. No. It's gonna be different, but thank you. Thank you for what you've done here. I appreciate it. All right, that's all I can do.
Thank you. Catherine.
Beverly, I have been on this board only slightly less time than you were general manager here. I sat in the audience for a whole lot of years before that. So I can say I've kind of seen general managers. But I will say you have brought vision, leadership, honesty, and a phenomenal female role model. You've hired women into a business where women don't usually tread. You went into a business where women don't usually tread. And as a board member, you have recognized many of the missing pieces that we desperately needed at SAM to keep this as a functioning organization. We were missing policies, we were missing practices, we were missing leadership, and I want to thank you, and I know it's going to be very, 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 very tough to find anybody of your caliber. That said, I am very thankful to Keishan for stepping in. He brings many, many, many of your traits, and he will be an excellent interim. And I will continue on and say that it has been my honor and deep pleasure to get to know in my 3.5 years the staff here. because we have an awesome staff. And I know they've heard me say it before, and I hope they don't get tired of hearing me say it, because, good staff is the fundamental to running any business. I employed a whole lot of managers in my 30 years in business. I know what a good manager is, and you, and now Keishan, and frankly, a whole lot of your crew have that. And, so I want to thank you for 3.5 years. I'm sorry it couldn't have been longer, but that's life. I want to thank Carl for being here and sticking it out with us. And I want to continue and tell Keishan anytime I can be of any help or anything, let me know, and the same to the crew. You are an awesome bunch. Thank you, and I'm willing to bet every board member in Montero says thank you in the same way.
Beverly, thank you. It is, it's telling when everyone on staff admires, respects, and I think loves you. It's not easy as an outsider to see how things work, but I have never heard one word from anyone on staff except praise for you. So congratulations on that. That's quite an accomplishment. Thank you.
I'd just like to say I'm jealous of Indio that they're getting you down there, and I think the coastside weather did a little 2-day warm-up for you to prepare you for what it's going to be like down there. So if it gets too
I've been
hot-
suffering to try and acclimate. Yes. Thank you very much.
If you need to fly north for the summer, you know where to come.
Yes, I do. I think my staff conspired. I have managed to get all the way up till now and haven't shed a tear, and I've held it together, and I think they stored it up just to make sure that I didn't get to hold my stoic quality of being able to, play poker, as I'm sure all of you have seen me do so well so many times. Thank you to everyone for your kind words. And if you haven't had a chance, a couple weeks ago, I wrote a letter to the editor in the Half Moon Bay Review. So if you haven't had a chance, please read that.
Okay. Thank you. We will move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything? Or can I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Items A, approve the minutes of May 13th. B, approve disbursements for June 10th. And C, accept the expense and revenue report for the period ending April 30th, 2019.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Regular business, we move on to 4A, conduct a public hearing on proposed changes to the non-domestic waste source control ordinance and universal fee schedule.
That mouthful. As you know from the staff report a couple months ago, and then also from today, in order to make the change in the ordinance, we have to go through the public hearing. I don't know if we've received anything from anyone. No, we have not. It has been published as required, and it was also published with coastsidebuzz.com to make sure that we had plenty of opportunities for people to see that the public hearing was going to be today. So I put the steps out here for you, so although I'm sure Chair Penrose is very familiar with this, the City Council does this more often than Sam does. So I'll let you do the public hearing and then certainly answer any questions that you have.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the public? We'll go on to board discussion. Board members,
No comments.
any comments?
Seems like a logical thing to do. We need to do it, bring it up to date.
All right, then we close the public hearing. Moving on to 4B, adopt ordinance number 19-01, adopting the changes to the non-domestic waste source control ordinance and adopting resolution number 2019-05, establishing the universal fee schedule.
So moved.
Comments? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move on to 4C, adopt resolution number 2019-06, adopting Sewer Authority Midcoast General Budget for fiscal year 2019-20, and adopting the physician control list. Comments?
I'm curious, has Granada approved these?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4D, adopt resolution number 2019-07, adopting the Sewer Authority Midcoast Contract Collection Services Budget for fiscal year 2019-20.
We have some issues with this. It has not been approved by our board, and I would like to defer it because there are some issues involved in the fact, the way this happened, where there was a budget for both Granada and Montera, and then it's great that Half Moon Bay wants to participate, but then came in, and it is not clear exactly how costs are going to be shared and so forth. And while we're not opposed to this, we'd like to have a little more discussion about the way that it is being managed, and would like to delay it.
So you want discussion tonight, or you want to delay it
We're
until
happy to
you
have discussion, but we'd like to bring it back at a following meeting.
When?
Well, we have a meeting next week, so we could bring it back after that. But we'd like some resolution of some of the issues around the way costs and so forth are going to be allocated among the three agencies for this budget. Because originally the budget was essentially more or less for Montera and Granada to share, had an equal cost. And then Half Moon Bay, which is great, wanted to participate, but they're paying now much less. And it's not clear exactly why that's happening. I'm not saying, there's a problem. I just would like to understand this contract a little better before we go ahead and approve it. And I think for the process, it should be approved by the various boards before it comes here for approval. I think that's actually part of the standard procedure, and that hasn't happened.
Sorry, actually, it is very different because it's not part of the JPA. The contracts themselves are individual with each agency. And the contract simply says that Sam puts forth a budget, and that goes for Montera and Granada. Half Moon Bay is a completely separate animal because they have new contract language. It doesn't talk about the budget at all. So their contract's completely separate. The old language says that there are deadlines. Sam met the deadlines. It has deadlines for the member agencies. Montera met the deadline, Granada's failed to meet the deadline, which triggers a 120-day notice that Sam has the option to take or not. And all it says is that Sam has to prepare a budget in March and submit it, which it did, and then the member agencies have to approve it, each of them separately, not together, by June 15th. And so that's the only requirement. There isn't a requirement of a share and share alike because these are three separate contracts. The contract or the budget that was prepared was assuming that the contract language as it stood with Half Moon Bay was going to terminate June 30. We presented it to the SAM board. The SAM board agreed that if at some point in the future Half Moon Bay would want to extend their contract, that they would negotiate with SAM as to what that would be. The price did not change because there are supplemental services that are added on to shore up the additional work, because we're not staffing up, because Half Moon Bay has chosen to do just 50% of its lines.
So you're not staffing up, so that means that the work that was being done for Granada and GCS and Montera can be done by the same people, even if they add in Half Moon Bay?
We have to have a minimum of 3 people no matter what, so we were going to have to have.
Can we just look at this, I think is what I'm saying, is can we
Okay.
take just a little bit more time to look at this?
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
I would like for us to approve the SAM collections budget for Montera and for Half Moon Bay, and then Granada, so that we can keep moving forward on getting the work done. And then Granada can iron it out with SAM.
That actually makes it more difficult because of staffing issues. So it would be better for us to follow the contract language, which is that failure to approve the budget by June 15th means that SAM gives 120 days notice to Granada, because SAM's just a vendor. It's not a JPA when it comes to the contract services. Like any other vendor, the vendor tells you, you put out an RFP, or you tell the vendor what services you want, and the vendor says, this is the price. In Half Moon Bay's case, it was per linear foot. It could be total for the year, it could be in a variety of ways. But the vendor says, this is how much it costs. And then you as a entity says, we'll either pay for that, or we need to reduce our services or expectations because it's a little too much money, or it's fine. In the past, SAM has been held to both sides of that, treated as both a vendor and being also forced to provide his services at a cost that no other vendor would be required to do. You normally don't get to tell the vendor, I want these services at this price, and then hold them hostage. Normally what you do is you say, because that's how it's been, is we want this level of service and we're only going to pay you X amount for it. And no other vendor would be held to that. And that's how SAM's been treated in the past. And then when Half Moon Bay went out for an RFP, because all we had heard for 30 years was how expensive SAM was. We went out, we made our proposal just like everyone else and competed with everyone else. And the city of Half Moon Bay chose to separate out, and they work with Mark Thomas as their sort of their subject matter expert for the city, and SAM performs the majority of the services. There were some services that Mark Thomas took over, and we negotiated that price based on, we weren't gonna be doing the fog inspections, we weren't gonna be doing all of the maintenance on the 3 lift stations, so we negotiated that. And we came upon an agreed upon price. If it was a price that the city wanted and SAM couldn't perform the services, then SAM would have said, I'm sorry, we can't perform the services for that price. They wouldn't have been able to hold a gun to our head and say, do it anyway, which is what's been happening in the past. And that's what Granada and Montera have continued to do, which is to say, we want X level of services, but we only want to pay X amount for it. Well, SAM can't do it for that price. And we have many years of experience demonstrating that it can't be done for that price, because what ends up happening is SAM ends up taking staffing from its operational area and supporting collection services. And we can't maintain
So the
that.
current proposal is something that you can't support because we're telling you you have to do it for this unacceptable price?
No, what I'm saying is this is the budget. It's either acceptable or it's not. But
So you're saying take it or leave it?
no, what I'm saying is this is the budget. You can pick at it, but it is the budget. SAM can't do it for less. So if there's something in there that you don't agree with, SAM can't carve that out. SAM can't say, oh, you don't think it should be, you think the rental on the vehicle is too high, or you think the staffing isn't the right amount. I'm just putting things out there that I've heard from the managers, that, you know, the cost of X, Y, or Z is too much, too little, not enough, whatever it is. That's okay, but it's up to SAM as the vendor to deliver that service. I heard it all about this year, how this was an epic fail, it was never gonna work, SAM was gonna owe money, you know, and that the member agencies were gonna have to shore up SAM because it just wasn't gonna work. And I would say, ask staff, 1, has it worked? We've delivered the services, and 2, we haven't come in over budget, which was all I heard last year was SAM's Sam's budget, we don't understand it, it's never gonna work, it's never gonna function.
Sam's collections budget.
Right, and it has. And Sam hasn't gone broke, which is one of the things I heard. Sam hasn't squirreled away money. I'm just telling you what I heard, and this is
I'm
exactly.
relatively new. I just know that there's details that are complicated in this, and I would like, I understand 120 days is 3 months.
Take it or
And
leave it.
Wait, no.
No, I'm
That's
saying
what you're
that's-
saying?
that's-
You're saying to me, take it or leave it.
No, what I'm saying is as a vendor, that's,
That's what you're saying to me.
what I'm saying is, this is the price of doing it. I don't think it's fair to ask Sam to act different than any other vendor that would bid on its services. And that's what I'm saying, is that comes across as a take it or leave it, and I hear you're saying that it feels that way, but I'm saying any other vendor, you would say, these are the services we want. And a vendor would say, this is the price of those services. If it's too much, then you have to reduce your expectation. 3.5 years ago, I got here and I had a very detailed conversation with GCSD. And the one thing I was told was they wanted a complete turnkey system. They didn't want to think about it, they didn't want to deal with it, they wanted it
And you've done a
to.
great job of that. It's my understanding that that's been very successful.
But-
I'm not questioning that.
But the
Just-
thing was, is they didn't want to pay for it. And so when I said, if you want something that is 100% seamless, we take care of everything, you don't have to worry about it, there's a cost to that. And so what I have done is I have built a budget over this 3.5 years of having experience working with staff, working with the needs, seeing the way the service expectations are, and put together a budget that says this is the cost to have that completely turnkey system that GCSD is the only one that wants. Montera has a different methodology, Half Moon Bay has a different methodology. That's what GCSD wants, and this is the cost of doing that. We don't do permit inspections for any other entity, but we drop everything we're doing to do permit inspections, sometimes with only 24 hours notice, because that's the expectation of GCSD. So there's a cost to that. There's a staffing cost to that. There's a support service to that.
Permit inspection.
Well, there are times where it's actually kind of busy and it takes us away. The thing is with 24 hours notice, but I'm telling you, this is the service level.
So you're telling me tonight,
This is
Take
the
it or
cost.
leave
Well, what I'm saying is this is the cost. I'm not saying take her to leave it tonight.
I'm just saying I would like to understand this a little better and delay it to our next meeting.
And the only reason why I'm giving you the background information is I won't be here next meeting. And I'm the one that put this budget together, and I've been doing it for 3.5 years. This is my 4th budget, and I'm just giving you the information behind it, because not that staff can't speak to this, but I'm the one that went through the nits and gnats and developed the proposal for the RFP and had all the discussions and factored in the staffing levels and the support services and all of that. That's all I'm saying is, if you were to ask a vendor who was, let's just take one for example, PSI. PSI happens to quote on a dollar per foot, and it's, I forget what it is, like 80-something cents a dollar for, just to clean.
All the dollars around.
Yeah, $1. If you ask them what goes into that dollar, they would say everything that it costs to do what you're asking. And they would say it's $1. They're not gonna go through all of their staffing and all their support services and the cost of their equipment and everything else. They're gonna tell you it's $1 per linear foot. Because what you ask for is what does it cost. Granada isn't interested in $1 per foot or breaking it down. It's just how much is it. So that's how it's presented, just how much it is, and this is the cost. And it's the cost to provide the services so that there is not an impact on SAM staffing and SAM services that cannot be offset. So if we have to bring in additional help because we're dedicating more time than expected, we have the ability to do that, and that's what's built in here. As well as having people on standby to respond, because it could be a wet year, could be a dry year, could be, we don't know, but those people have to be on standby whether we get one call out or no call outs. And so that's what's built in here.
Are there any ramifications if Granada waits till the next meeting and we go ahead and approve the other two,
Or if they're not approved, what are the ramifications for Montera and Half Moon Bay?
Well, part of the problem in delaying it is we're actually in a recruitment process right now that we waited an entire year to fill, and we limped along all year long, one person short. Because we kept being told Granada and Montera are gonna approve a new contract. So we waited and we waited and we waited, and it took quite a toll on staff. And we had to backfill with other support services because Half Moon Bay was at 100%.
I'm sorry?
Half Moon Bay was 100% of their cleaning for the year. So instead of having 5 people, we only had 4 to do all the work.
And why was that?
We had someone leave, but everything was on hold until Half Moon Bay awarded its contract.
So nothing to do with Granada?
No, it was, because then we were supposed to have a 3-year contract with Half Moon Bay, but all the member agencies couldn't get together and approve, and agree to approve it, so we ended up with a 1-year contract. Well, I wasn't gonna hire someone for a year not knowing if it was gonna continue. So because of that, we limped along and had to backfill with support services. And then we heard 2 things. Montera and Granada are both planning on renewing or putting together new contract language. We heard that last summer, that didn't happen. Then, because I had an email from Chuck saying, please put this on your agenda. That was back in between July and August, and then all of a sudden it was, well, we're holding off on it. Okay, but then that meant that we weren't sure what was gonna happen. And then Montera was talking about taking the services back in-house and potentially contracting with GCSD and the city of Half Moon Bay for emergency services. So once again, we didn't fill
Who
the
was doing that?
Montera.
Okay.
And that they were potentially, and I heard this from the managers as well, that potentially that was where it was going to, that's where the collection services was going. So once again, we held off on filling that vacancy, which put a significant strain on Sam's staff. Then we heard that that wasn't gonna happen. Half Moon Bay was gonna ask to extend for a year. We were gonna have another year with Granada and Montera. So it's like, okay, well, we can't relive this last year. We've gotta fill a position. And then we had another vacancy. So now we're down 2 staff. We have got to fill that. But in order to have somebody up and running for July 1, when those services are supposed to begin for the year, we've got to fill them now, which we're actually in the process. We have an interview this week and are planning on making a conditional offer, hopefully, for 1, if not both positions. I can't do that if I don't know if I have a budget. So that kicks it down the road 2 more weeks, which means I will not have staffing, or Kishan, pardon me, will not have staff to provide those services July 1 as we had promised we would do. Because they have to have Class B licenses and they have to be trained. And right now I'm down to 1 with a Class B license trained. And another person who is planning on retiring very soon, which means I need that person trained and ready to fill behind that, or we're not gonna be able to live up to our side of the contract. So we kicked it down the road an entire year because everything was supposed to be settled this year. And we find ourselves right back where we were this time last year, which is still not settled, still not determined, still limping along from month to month, not knowing what's going on. And I would highly recommend not doing that. Because
But
Sam's.
Granada has not been the problem in supporting this.
Granada has been a problem. Granada continues to be a problem. Granada is one of the more vocal part of the problem, about the budget part of it, about disagreeing with it.
Last year or this year?
Both. And the issue is that they, from what I understand, they don't like the way it's put together, they don't understand it. But the thing is it's a price, and it worked this year. I don't understand, it's a 4% increase, which is what I estimated it would be last year, because I did a 3-year estimate, and it was approximately 4% a year, which is what it is. And so I'm not quite sure what the issue is, because it worked for this year. It's a 4% over this year, which is pretty close to the CPI. And I'm unclear, none of the service level has changed. That I was clear that there was no request. So I'm unclear as to what
Alright.
the issue, I just don't know, because the only thing that's been expressed to me is they don't understand it and don't like it. But that's, I don't know what to do with that.
Jim, do you have any thoughts on this?
No,
No. All right, thank you.
So, I mean, you can postpone it, I'm not, obviously, it's the board's decision, I'm just saying, there's definitely ramifications to Sam in it being able to staff properly, because what I don't want to have is for Kishan to be sitting here, you know, the second meeting in July and have people complaining that the services aren't being performed
Right.
because we don't have staff, that's all.
What are the ramifications for Montera and Half Moon Bay by Granada's not?
But we're voting as
Just
a
give it
board
to
to
Jim.
support all
Give it to Jim.
three.
Don't sign
No,
it.
you're voting on the budget.
Oh, yeah.
That's all you're
Sorry.
voting is on the
You're right.
budget, the contracts are separate.
Yeah,
You're just voting on
the budget.
the
So
budget
we're
and.
budgeting on we're voting on the overall budget.
I understand,
Right,
but
yeah.
I want to know what the ramifications of this delay are.
Or this delay would be.
It would be the ability, well, the ramifications would be, one, staffing, and that Sam very likely could find itself with insufficient staffing to be able to perform the services, which means it would be unable to perform the services for all three, because obviously we're not gonna go, well, we'll perform some over here and some, I mean, clearly, there would be an impact, and I couldn't say exactly at what percentage, but there would definitively be an impact on service level, because we just wouldn't have the bodies to do it.
Okay, thanks.
So you're saying that the collections, contract, employees could be, they would not be, Sam might not be able to perform the services for Montera and Half Moon Bay.
Correct, we would have a difficulty providing services just from staff availability as a whole. Now, if we were just providing services for Montera and Half Moon Bay, because they did approve the budget, which, you know, there's another item on here about the contract for Half Moon Bay, but let's just say all of that goes fine. And then we would just be providing services to Granada for 120 days, and then that would, I'm just saying if nothing else happened, because the contract says we will provide services for 120 days, and then that would be the end of it. So we would have to shore it up for that period of time to make sure that we were sufficiently providing services and that no one of the agencies was affected. But then after that 120 days, Sam would no longer provide the services to Granada unless, of course, something were to change.
Did you want to say something, John?
May I?
Oh, hey,
I hesitate, but, John Dowdy, City of Half Moon Bay. I've talked to Chuck about this. I've talked to Beverly about the issues of the budget, their staffing. I wholeheartedly agree that we have an issue with staffing if we can't hire. Had an oral board this week or last week. So we're trying to move forward. Here's my suggestion, just as a place. What I've told Chuck all along, from my perspective, from the city's perspective, is we said approve the budget, allow the budget to go forward. What I'm committing to is that Chuck, Clemens, and I, and whoever else in that, will be happy to sit down and talk about anything and whether there's horse trading within this budget that makes it right, and deal with it over the next 120 days or whatever, so we can get to this point. This really is, Beverly's trying to say is, it's a contract issue, it's a contract between her agency and us as member agencies, not a JPA issue. From that perspective, I think this belongs in the hands of the agency members and talking with now Keishan, but mainly talking among ourselves if there's horse trading to be done in terms of the percentages, a little bit of give and take and everything like that. So to move this forward, I'd ask you to move it forward, accept my commitment, the city's commitment to continue to work along with Chuck and Clemens and Keishan ultimately to bring this, and if there is horse trading to be done, that we come back in the next within the next 120 days and shift around a few dollars here or there to make it seem, to work. That's what I would like to do as a compromise to the point.
Yes.
Thank you. Can we have a motion then?
Let's see. Get it up here again.
It's 4D.
No, I don't want to vote on this if Granada's not comfortable. If
Well,
it
with
if it
those-
includes Granada.
Yes. With those representations, I think actually we're fine with it. It's just, it feels as if there are some details to be worked out that haven't been worked out. And if, I appreciate the history and I appreciate the understanding. I think it is true that there are some aspects of this that perhaps need some tweaking. And if, I guess, Kishan, if we are gonna work together in good faith to just make it all work, I'm fine with supporting this. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. But I do think there were some issues to raise, so I don't
Thank
think
you.
they're insurmountable, but I think it's something, and I understand that it's 3 separate contracts, but on the other hand, we are all joined together in many ways, and we are gonna be sharing staff on this. So let's just work out those details, and if, with those representations, I'm comfortable.
Thank you.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2019-07, adopting the SAM contract collection services for fiscal year 2019.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item 4E.
Just a second.
Who's
Oh,
okay. I didn't hear either.
Thank you very much, sorry to interrupt.
Authorize the general manager to execute a contract amendment with the city of Half Moon Bay to continue providing collection system maintenance services from July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020. Any discussion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 4F, authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Management Partners for accounting services from July 1, 2019 through December 31, 2020. Any discussion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 4G, execute contract amendment number 3 with Bold, Pelisner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson for legal services to extend the, where are we?
Middle of G.
It's reading differently in these 2 different places, so skip what I said. Authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Management Partners for accounting services from July 1, 2019 through December 31, 2020. Discussion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
4H, authorize general manager to execute a purchase order.
4G, but I need to leave the room for that.
We already did it.
Already did it.
No, you just said management.
There was some
Management
confusion there,
systems is what
folks.
you
They
said,
were-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need to leave for the one with my firm because otherwise I might be participating in the making of
All
a
right,
decision, so I have
let's
to walk
go
out.
ahead and leave.
Go away so we can do it again.
Thank you.
Then you
Authorize
could-
the general manager to execute a purchase order with, execute contract amendment number 3 with Bold, Pelisner, Maddow, Nelson, Judson for legal services, from,
To extend the contract.
to extend the contract through December 2020.
Through December 31, 2019, and
2019.
increase the authorized amount by $50,000 for a contract total amount not to exceed $340,000. This is,
Right, sorry, I was on
They all look like.
so moved. I got to do it.
the. Second?
Second.
All seconded?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, can we ask Carl to come back?
Come back.
Moving on to 4H, authorize the general manager to execute a purchase order with FKC for a rotary drum thickener
Did we do
in an
F?
amount not to exceed $195,000. Discussion.
That's
On
on
this
H.
one,
On
put-
H, someone.
I'm talking about the thickener, I wanna say that it's very clear to me that this is something that staff feels is really important. It was proposed early on in the life of this facility. It's something that they feel is a really valuable and worthwhile thing to have, so I really support this.
I actually came out and watched the demonstration project when it was going on, and it was, all right, so my sense of exciting might be a little low. It was really exciting to see the technology, and, so I think that's why I made the motion, and will make the motion to, adopt,
I'd like to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that takes us to
manager's report.
general manager's report. We have a general manager in the room.
We have an
We have
acting
the-
general manager.
We have the monthly manager's report. If there are any questions, staff is ready to answer.
Actually, I suppose we should, you could attend to B first, which explains how Beverly came to, as her power delegated by the board, appoint Keisha to be the acting during until an interim is found.
Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah, so-
5B, 5B, assignment of acting general manager, effective June 10, 2019.
As appears in the staff report, the general manager is the personnel office for SAM. And as part of that authority, the general manager assigns staff to positions that are approved and funded within the attached wage schedule. And so pursuant to that authority, she appointed Keisha to be acting general manager effective today, I guess right now.
Yep.
Instantaneously right now, until such time as the board appoints an interim general manager. And the salary is as specified in the unrepresented employees manual. So there'll be a bump up during the time that he is serving as acting general manager. I think that's laid out here, is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the attachment.
May I have a motion? A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations, Keisha. And thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now we really do have an acting.
Now we have the monthly manager's report.
Yep. So we have the monthly manager's report attached, and if you have any questions, staff is ready to answer.
Are there questions, discussion? Okay, do we need to accept it? Move to accept it?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think
No,
so.
okay, thank you.
Just receive it.
And we move on to the attorney's report.
I'll be very brief because we have a few closed sessions to discuss. I just wanted to let you know about a couple of the legislative matters that were important to CASA and thereby important to SAM and the member agencies. The first one is the, gosh, I forget the number, but the non-flushable wipes legislation. The Appropriations Committee turned that into a 2-year bill, which means it won't go till next year. So the idea is, I think the idea was that that folks from the wastewater industry would talk to the people in the wipes industry and come to some sort of terms. I'm not sure exactly how that would work, but I think that's the concept that they had in mind. A lot of pressure from the manufacturers of those products.
High profit. I would hope the city and Montera and Granada would send a letter to our representatives and simply say we support this. It adds
I think that's a great
extraordinarily
idea.
high costs
Yes.
to our ratepayers.
Excellent
And,
idea.
they can figure out how to make some, toilet paper is the only thing, as I learned from Beverly, that dissolves in the sewer system. And so, they need to figure out, how to make it more like toilet paper. But of course, leaving it wet in a box leaves you with a massive pulp, but I'm sure they can come up with something.
Yes, well, my daughter has little kids and she was using flushable wipes. I said to her, well, they are not flushable.
Flushable.
And she said, look, right here on the.
says it.
Yeah.
It says.
They flush down okay, it's just what they
Yes,
do after
exactly.
that
There's
that's
a
a
lot
problem.
of things that are
They can
flushable.
clog your laterals,
Not to it.
clog your mains, clog your pumps, wreck your pumps, wreck your treatment, yeah.
Banana
Sheets are
peels.
flushable.
Yeah.
Even goldfish don't do that kind of thing.
I said that first.
Yeah.
So,
The
Don't
other-
flush your goldfish.
About alligators.
and isn't it true
You know,
that,
that's a problem.
isn't it true that a lot of plants, including us, are adding equipment to try to deal with this, but it's
Yes.
really difficult?
Yeah.
Well, and we have added some equipment that helps, but nothing completely, because it really, before it even gets to our equipment, it's in your equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
And the tree roots in Montera and the offsets at all three of the agencies, that's where this stuff gets caught.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
a
also
backup
some
waiting to happen.
Yeah, when
Toilet
it gets
paper
into
that
a
is
pump.
not flushable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it gets
There is
into a-
some toilet paper that is not flushable.
Yes, because they've decided to supplement with plastic type material that
Right.
does not break down.
In London, there was a mass
Oh, yes, I read about that.
about the size of Moby Dick. And it was a horrendous effort for London to clean it out. So this is, and particularly in an area like us with low flow toilets and showers and washers and dishwashers and everything, it makes even less
Yeah.
likely for it to flow through.
Yes, everyone who did great with conservation discovered that. All the agencies, all the sewer agencies discovered that when the drought hit. And suddenly, everybody started seeing a significant increase in dry weather blockages because there wasn't enough flow to push those down, and they all were getting caught. And almost inevitably, every clean out that you did was a big ball of wipes and other things that don't dissolve.
Yeah, the nice word for them is rags in the
Yeah.
industry.
It sort of encompasses anything that doesn't break down.
Well, it does seem like a reasonable thing to have legislation that says they have to make it clear.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So that won't be going forward this year, it'll be going forward next year. The other legislation that CASA was very, very involved with and was important, I think, to everybody in this room, was the ocean discharge ban that was Senator Hertzberg had brought forward. This was SB 332. This one got held in suspense, which means that's a place where bills go to die in the Appropriations Committee. So apart from the possibility of some sort of gut amend, which is the sneaky way they take one bill and cross everything out and put something else in there, which you watch for, but apart from that, it's dead for the year and I'll just start over again next year. So that's good, and that's enough for.
All right.
I mean,
Those
the
are
goal
two
of
big
that
things.
is laudable. The idea that eventually we're going to be able to,
Absolutely.
you know,
But
recycle the water and so forth, but it's just not gonna happen.
yeah, it's very expensive, and you have to have a place to use the recycled water. And in a community like this, there may not. I don't think there's enough use for recycled water. I mean, if you're in a place where it's very hot and dry, you need lots of water for irrigation, and you have very large yards with lawns and things like that, you might have a better chance. But I don't, it's a one size fits all. It doesn't fit. It's the authors in the LA area. There's more that could be done there. But I mean, one of the leaders in terms of recycling water is Orange County wastewater, and they're doing it. They couldn't comply with the law.
It's actually separate from the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
Orange County
Well,
Sand District.
The other thing I will say is that the water from Montera, Moss Beach, El Granada down to about the top of Frenchman's Creek all comes from local sources. So it gets used, cleaned, and put in the place it would be going anyway. The water from Half Moon Bay through Frenchman's Creek comes from the Sierras, which would otherwise flow to the ocean. It gets used, cleaned, and put back where it was going. So it's an interesting concept, but it's not rational. Why would we be taking the most productive areas in an estuary are the brine areas, not the deep salt areas? So we actually need to be putting the brine, the clean water, back in the areas. If, I would believe, from having talked to ocean biologists, if we were doing it right, we'd clean it and we'd put it in the shoreline kind of thing, so that, because that's where the fish breed and lay their eggs.
Okay, director's reports. Anything? Topics for future board consideration?
Anything to be added?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
Then we'll move on to public comment. Is there any public comment? If not, I suggest we take a break and, yeah, everybody, come on in the other room. Pick a room, any room.
This part of this
This is, yeah.
Yeah, we're going that way.
And there's soda water here if you want to fill